doing, if this bill does see the light of day, you're going to see people leave the NCAA because they can't put once the cat got out the bag with the money situation, the NCAA is trying to do everything they can to put it back in. As usual.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with us today on this Throwdown Thursday edition, Captain for Life, Will Cotton. Will, we got to hear the player's perspective on this. How you doing today, man?
Man, I was reading about it because I want to be ready. I'm ready to go. Let's get it.
And fans, academic and athletic consultant for the CKA Save Project, Georgia Acker, my former athletic director. It's a lot going on, sir. Can't wait to get your thoughts. How you feeling?
You know, back in the day in history when a ruler was under siege, he would do everything he could to hold on to power. And that is what you're seeing right now with the NCAA grasping at straws.
All right. With that, segment one, we're going to talk about some new bills. Segment two, we're going to really break down the transfer portal in a way I don't think fans have even thought about it. And in segment three, George predicted a couple of weeks ago, we're going to have possibly a new top 25 with the group of 5 schools. We'll get to that. But first, I'm just a Bill. Yes, I'm only a Bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill, social studies teacher. You know, I'm a social studies
That's
teacher.
right.
The NCAA has found its men in Washington, and Representatives Russell Fry from South Carolina and Barry Moore from Alabama, both Republicans. The two congressmen have introduced legislation that would grant the NCAA an absolute liability shield to establish and enforce its rules. This legal safe harbor would extend to universities and college athletic conferences as well. So here's the name of the bill, fans. The title of the bill is Protect the Benefits for Athletes and Limit Liability. Protect the Ball Act. How you like that? Protect the Ball Act. And the new House bill was accompanied by public endorsements from University of South Carolina President Michael Amaryllis, South Carolina Athletic Director Ray Tanner, Clemson AD Garrett Neff. So, of course, all of these people are suing the ACC in terms of Clemson to leave. But here's some possible problems with this. One, it's an election year. And what bill in May is going to make it all the way through? Two, it ain't going to happen. It's an election year. So, George, you're my athletic director. What are you thinking about this bill, man?
So, Keith, you know me well enough. Especially when I was athletic director, I was always going to see the best way to help my school program that I possibly could. So if you think about it, my ship would always have the skull and crossbones flag flying from it. But I say that to say that they can go and make all the rhetoric and rattle sabers and all they want. What they're going to wind up doing, if this bill does see the light of day, you're going to see people leave the NCAA because they can't put once the cat got out the bag with the money situation, the NCAA is trying to do everything they can to put it back in. And you can't do it. You either adapt or you get the hell out the way. And they're going to be forcibly removed the hell out the way if they don't get with the program. I mean, I see it as them still trying to be in control of what happens in college sports. Mm-hmm. Them still trying to keep their piece of the pie. And that's exactly what it is. That's all I see. That's what I see it as.
Cotton Man, you are the player. But you also do compliance, and you had a chance to read the bill, and I gave the audience just a little bit of outline about it. What do you think about what you read, sir?
One, the first thing is the federal Supreme Court has already said that this is legal. So I don't know what you're going to do that's not going to cause any sort of litigation. First of all, any sort of policy that you put out, you are going to get sued. I'm talking about thousands of people trying to sue you. So I think at some point, even law that you try to put or policy trying to put together, you can put on hold because people are going to be suing you and talking about how are you going to interpret your policy. I think that's where they're going to lose. Again, you're still trying to control or enforce this. And at the end of the day, like George says, why should I even listen to y'all? I make the money. You're the one trying to hold on to the money. I can just go. So, again, they're making all these decisions without having any sort of NCAA student or people who actually make the money. Again, people my age, younger, are not in making this decision. These are people, like you said, holding on to straws, hoping that they can get passed. But again, they got money now. Stop playing games. Y'all ain't the only ones who got money. We're gonna put the lawyers out there, and we're gonna stop everything. So, again, in an electric year, an election year, it's going to be even worse. So, a lot of noise for nothing. NCAA is done, but it's just a lot of noise. Sounds good.
Yeah, they've been sued by states already.
Everybody.
Everybody.
I mean,
so
and George, that's the point that I'm always paused about. Once you have states making rules, the only way to change this is to have a federal law. Well, George, you and I both live Common Core, which was a good idea until everybody tried to execute it. All they wanted was the same type of educational system for everybody across the country until it went back to the state house and the people said, well, in Georgia, we want this. And Texas really didn't want anything. So now that you've got people making rules for individuals and colleges in their own state, Virginia to bring up one, it's going to be hard to get everybody to say, okay, the feds are going to agree. We can't even agree on traffic lights. We can't even agree to fund the government every 6 months because there's always a threat of a government shutdown. So, hey, good luck. You're going to need it. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the transfer portal, and we're actually going to mention money and how much. We'll be right back on the Our Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fallon Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greatest
Welcome back to the Our Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, let's talk transfer portal. So, friend of the show, Dan Tudor, who is a recruiting expert, did a survey recently that he mentioned, and check out Tudor Recruiting. He does a great job for colleges and universities and helping them with recruiting. And 60% of the respondents in his survey said they weren't considering a transfer and therefore bypassed the question on their survey. So 6 out of 10 recruits that he talked to weren't thinking about a transfer. That's good, right? Wrong, because 40% of your roster is thinking about leaving, and that actually is about right. So when pressed upon this, Dan had mentioned in his article that recruits are not feeling the love. They're leaving because they're not getting the right academic fit. They're leaving because in their mind, another coach or another program is going to make it better for them. They indicated that they just want to compete at a higher level, and that's okay. Why is it that coming out of high school, you were a low major and then you overplayed and now you want bigger? Why am I held to where I was as an 18-year-old and I'm 22? No other industry does that. And they feel ignored and not valued by their coach. So, fellas, you work with student athletes, George. Will, you were a student athlete and you have friends involved in that. Taking a look at what Dan had said, George, is that about right in your travels working with student athletes?
It sounds
Uh,
about right. Oh, my bad. We said
go ahead,
Will or
Will.
George?
Go,
Oh,
Will.
no, that's
Go,
all
go.
good.
No, go.
Yeah, I'll start. George is probably much better than me with this one, but I'll start off. Yeah, I understand it. I mean, there's a lot of kids, especially growing up now, there's a lot of kids who have a lot more needs, emotionally. I won't say it's financially really yet. I think emotionally, like, yeah, you're not getting the right academic, you know what I'm saying? And that comes with every school. You can go to Harvard and say, well, I'm not really getting what I need from this program. Let me go to Princeton. Let me go to wherever. So it changes. I think that's fine. Um, but with these other things about why they need to leave, I think then they should kind of address at their organization and say, well, you have 60% of your players left because they're upset with the coaches, or they want to compete at a higher level. It's just they need to have a regulations for transfers. It can't just be I want to leave because I'm unhappy. That has to be really part of it. Are you going through a hardship? How many credits have you completed? That's another thing. Can you stay in the conference? Things like that. So again, there's a lot of things that need to be considered when these players are leaving, and it's not when we were growing up. I'm just going over here, but it's or sticking with the program, even the coach changes. But they need to look at the landscape and say, okay, these kids obviously not the kids from 30 years ago. These are not the kids from 20 years ago or 10 years ago. Let's go deeper and find out. And I just don't think that the NCAA cares to find that data. And I don't think the coaches and the universe don't care about going to that data. I think they just get upset when a good player leaves but if we look at the data for the players, it's all benefits them for the most part. Jaden Daniels was at Arizona State. All of a sudden LSU, now he's in this top pick. Players should allow to make those decisions, but there's a lot more information provided. Like why are you leaving? Where are you going? You know what I'm saying? Coach, you always say a great time to say players want to go to this coaching or they want to go to institution. And you say, well, that coach is a Marine. He wakes up at 5 a.m. Why would you don't like making the first period? So there's a lot of things that have to be, there's a lot of conversations that aren't happening and people are upset on both sides. And it's just going to get worse because they're not talking to each other. And I'll let George, kill it because he's way better than I am. That's just my personal feelings.
True story, by the way, fans. Go ahead, George.
I'll be honest with you. This goes back to, and I'm gonna break this down to the bare bone. It comes back to being a good teacher. Part of what a good teacher does, one of the backbone of what they do is build relationships with their kids. When you build relationships with your players believe in you and they think you believe in them, they'll run through walls for you. Those players will be the ones that stay no matter what. Yeah, you're going to lose a few, it happens because Billy feels like he's better than he was, or Johnny's dad thinks it's a situation. And some of them, sometimes personalities and styles just don't work out. But when you're running a factory, and that's basically what it is. I got a broken piece here. Let me put one in. Let me go find. Let me jump out here now. And the way information moves and contact does these days, it's easy to jump out there. That's why we have 40% transfer, where 40% of these kids talking about transferring because they can do it. They can fill a need somewhere else. But I guarantee you, the kids that have those relationships with those coaches, they're not going anywhere. See, we can talk NIL and all this. And yeah, some kids are going to be on money and some kids are going to be on other things. But when the kids that are with you and they know that you care about them and care what happens to them on and off that field, they ain't going to leave. It ain't going to happen. So, you can see some programs have it because of just of their reputation and what happens. The old Alabamas, well, when Nick Saban was there, you're gonna have a chance to get the league. But now it's gonna be extremely important about and it's going down the road on how coaches build relationships with kids.
Look at
Because
Dion.
yep,
Look at Dion. Remember they
yep,
had that guy
yeah,
that just transferred, and then Dion went up and started talking
yeah,
trash about him, and got
yeah,
his son talking trash about him too.
yeah,
Why would
yeah.
I want to play for a program like that?
But
Why would
see,
I want to playground with a coach who's talking trash to me, making decisions for my life? He gonna talk trash about me. Why would I go play for a coach like that?
and I'm gonna tell you, Dion is both sides of the coin, because you got the one kid that left, and they were on him last year about his play and everything anyway. And he goes out, he starts talking, then Dion and his kids start popping back. But then the multitude of kids they got out of Colorado, they talk about, hey, it's different here. Coach Sanders cares about us and he does this. So you get on both sides.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's really gonna be, and like I said, no matter how good the relationships you build, you can't have a good relationship with everybody. Not everybody's gonna get along. So
No, you're not going to
what
be everybody's favorite.
right.
That's well
But
documented.
when I walk in and I can look at and have 70 and capture 75% of the room, I'm a winner. We're gonna win. Regardless, we're gonna win. That other 25%, if they want to go somewhere, they got an option. They can come and they can fall in line, or they can keep it moving. But the relationship piece building is going to be huge, and it's going to continue to be huge, and it's going to get bigger as we continue to go down the line, and the NIL money continues to go up.
And speaking of the NIL money, article recently in an Alabama newspaper, a parent of a student athlete who got in the transfer portal said something that actually reminded me of Fiverr. They said, and I want to get this quote right, uh, uh, within 35 seconds, their phone was ringing and blowing up off the hook. This kid's a basketball player, and according to one source in the SEC, a starter will make around $200,000 to $250,000. An all-conference player is worth $350K. An all-American is worth $500K. But some people are saying that's double across the board. Another person said a starter is between 200 and 300, all conferences between 500 750,000. A high-end player is 800,000 to 2 million. And another source said, man, top guys are well over 1 million. So this is the new reality we're in. Money isn't everything, but it's something. So here's some advice. It's all crazy, but are you going to get something out of it? Because the NBA is tight, ain't but 2 rounds and 30, 60
Two.
some odd picks. And what are we doing? So, George, with all of that information, what's your reaction to the actual dollar figures? Because this is just basketball. Football's got an 85-man roster. What are you thinking, man?
Well, Kirby said it's going to cost $3 to $4 million to get a starting quarterback. That's what Kirby Smart said down in Georgia. I mean, and it is, and it's going to continue. You always have a Wild West kind of deal going until we get to a point where things will, somebody, it's got to be a cap or a rule on it where they're going to have to settle it, because if they don't, we're going to have a situation with teams with the most money going to start signing. We'll wind up
And
signing all the
George,
best
as
players.
Will said, if you
Yep.
put a cap on that's not collectively bargained, sue,
You're right.
sue.
Right. And and this will be part of what happens when the new conference is made. See, when they go through, they will come up with a situation. Then it'll be collectively bargained. They'll bring the players in and the coach and the schools in, and come up with a spot to make it even for everybody. Because Texas, those schools in Texas have more money than God right now. And if it came down to it, everybody would start transferring there. But then again, we come back to what relationships are you building with these kids? And they're kids that aren't going to leave the Georgias for nothing. There's kids that aren't going to leave the Florida States no matter what. There's kids that's going, I'm sitting there thinking of coaches that seem like real good uh, student athlete coaches that go to bat for them all the time. Because I know Florida State's coach Will. Hell, he was in the press and he was in court for him during the whole situation on who should play for the national championship. And those schools aren't going to lose all their players because of the money. They're going to lose some, but they're not going to lose all of them. So, but for everybody to be on the level playing field, there will have to be. They're going to have to come. They'll have to come up with some kind of way to do it where it's fair to the kids and to the schools. And that's where I see it. But until that happens, it's going to be the Wild West out here, and we got another couple of years of the Wild West.
So, Will, we've now shared the numbers according to this report with our listeners. What's your reaction now that you're seeing dollar figures?
The dollars are crazy. I think the source, we have to check how reputable that person is. Because again, anybody is just according.
Let's just say the numbers did not surprise me, sir.
No. Oh yeah, but still, according to one source who is unnamed, is just saying these numbers out there, which and that gets people going. I think on the high end, a lot of guys, like you said, Georgia, would be like the Texas, Alabamas, Georgias, LSU's, the big names like that. But there's going to be a lot of guys on the bottom who are not making that money.
Right.
And I would say majority of them are not going to make that money. You know what I'm saying? Again, you're talking about All-American. I'm not really sure. I'm not certain how many All-Americans get voted every year, but I'm sure it's very limited. So if we're talking about let's say 33 guys, if it's offense, defense, special teams, that's like 33 guys compared to thousands of guys in FBS 1. So like you said, George, you got to protect the guys at the bottom. It's not the guy at the top who are making the money, who come in making six figures, 250, 300. It's the people on the bottom who are coming in who are like, yeah, I'm so-and-so. I'm a name. I play for a D1 school. I may make $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, whatever little local joint I make. And you need to balance that market. Like you said, if I'm a quarterback from Georgia and I'm X amount of stars, I should get that money no matter where I go. It shouldn't be I'm taking less over here than over here. That way it creates that balance. So yeah, I just like George says, I think once until there's regulation, it's the Wild West. And it won't be a long time until start getting those $10, $20 million, and we can't unfathom it now, but we couldn't believe that they were making this money now. So who knows where it's going to go? And like George says, regulation is what needs to happen because it's the Wild West.
Yeah, two big things, man. One, I wish I was still playing as a D1 athlete. Right? That's what I wish, because I feel slighted because I would have made some good money, right? I would have made some good money. But part two of this is that the money's going to get even higher because as these TV contracts and stuff keep going and the apparel deals and stuff keep going, there's so much money underneath that Will just said, where's the money coming from? Will, that money's there. There's so much money coming in. I can't even sit here and begin to talk to you. And I was only a high school athletic director. And the amount of revenue that we could generate from our programs was absolutely incredible.
You made more than my school.
Yeah. we had a better football team. Anyway, the thing
better
was
boosters too, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, boosters come with the football team, baby. Anyway, that's right. But that money's there, and it's going, and the TV deals and stuff are going to drive it up even higher. What are you getting ready to get with the new one? The SEC's getting ready to sign. What every school is going to get like $100 million or something?
Oh man.
Come on, man.
Wrong era.
I learned
sports in the wrong era.
So fans, when we get back, the group of 5 schools have had enough, and they're going to try to do something about it. We'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast.
Why should student athletes use the CKA SAVE Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA Save Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coach Podcast. It's segment 3, just what we needed, a new top 25. The preliminary groundwork is already underway for the American, Conference USA, Mid-American, Mountain West, and Sun Belt Conference to have their official Group of 5 top 25, with voting open only to head coaches in those leagues. Independent programs like UConn and UMass will also be included, not Notre Dame. Sources also have said that they already have a title sponsor. So if the number 2 team in the Group of 5 is playing the number 6 team, maybe we can get some more eyeballs on the product. George, you have talked about this, and the wheels of justice turn slow, but they do turn. What are you thinking about the new Group of 5 top 25?
Woo! It's coming, baby. It's like gonna be a tidal wave. Because I'm gonna tell you now, as soon as they do it and they make it happen, and they're gonna go get that, they're gonna forget the bowl game. I mean, forget the NCAA, and they're gonna do their own thing. Next thing you know, the big boys are going, because the big boys are already chomping at the bit. They're already chomping at the bit to let everything squash everything and be like, look, we're gonna start our own thing. And this is just the first domino to fall to the end of the NCAA. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the way the SEC moves, once football goes, basketball's going, baseball's right behind it, softball's going. By the way, I've spent a lot of this weekend flipping between SEC, ACC baseball championships, SEC softball, ACC softball championships. Do you think I'm the only one watching? No. So that is continuing to
Probably
go.
darn near close.
No, you would think so, Keith, but it's
My
not.
fault. You know my love of baseball.
I know.
Wake me up when it's over.
But it's not. You would not, because and what's crazy about it is you got like, I think they did like 10, like LSU's pitcher was the number one draft pick from last year's draft, right? He just pitched for Pittsburgh. I think the TV ratings, they were up at like the 9 million just to watch him for that one night. So the money's there. They're not, their conferences are done with the NCAA, and they're going to get rid of them. They don't need them. They already, and it takes the little ones to start that branch out there and go. And Keith, you can sit there all the time and say, who's going to pay for insurance? They will. Because when they got money to pay, when they got $10 million to pay a starting quarterback, they got enough money to pay his insurance.
All right. So Will, Arizona has gone to the Dogs. The Arizona Bowl has a new sponsor and will be henceforth known as the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. What are we doing, man? Congratulations to Snoop.
I am.
Go ahead
look,
with
if
this.
if Duke Mayo can have a bowl, then Snoop Dogg, who I actually watch and growing up watching and listening, he got a bowl too, because the money's getting crazy now. Because all you have to do is have some money, and you know, if you're Arizona, you're like, man, you know, shoot, if we trying to do different things, we do different things. Just like George says, you know, if you're like you're the Group of 5 or top 25, you can grab some money, you could buy some, a good name on it, whether USA Today or even grab the AP, and they'll be like, yeah, now they have a poll, so now they got money. So I mean, we'll see more of this, man. Guys will put their brands on them. I mean, we'll see. If you have money for cannabis, they'll have cannabis bowls. You'll have people putting. I mean, but think about it. Things now. I mean, the money is crazy because the money was back then. You had money when you were Duke Mayo. You were money with Toasted, whatever, Roy Rogers, whatever. You had a bowl. But now there's these small companies who are coming in. It's like, man, I'm an internet company. For example, Pornhub. I could easily go in and buy a bowl. Easily buy a bowl. Now, is it the best idea to buy into? No. OnlyFans can go in and buy a bowl. The money's out there, man. And I just think the more diversity that goes into, it just makes more interesting as the NCAA, and it reaches out to other people who may, like, you might not even know. You're like, what? Snoop Dogg got a bowl? Like, if I told my mom right now, and matter of fact, if my mother-in-law loves Snoop, great woman, happy Mother's Day. If you told her that Snoop Dogg has a bowl, I guarantee you she would watch.
Hey,
I think it's cool.
Hey, look, I don't care. If I'm the coach, I want to go to that bowl because the after party is gonna be lit. That's all I want.
Okay.
George, and y'all 18, y'all good. We all in there.
There's a new NCAA guideline in terms of NIL that will allow student athletes to engage in NIL activities while on call, and fans, that means during practice, pre and post game, press conferences, and on-court celebrations. George, that means, just like the I'm going to Disney World campaign, kids can do this like anytime. As an athletic director, former athletic director, what do you think about that, man?
I mean, you can think, there's nothing I think about it, because if once the door opened, it's gonna be open. I mean, we're gonna be sitting you can watch. I guarantee you, this year we'll be sitting on TV after the game and watch the press conference afterwards, and some kids are gonna be up there and go, we got live sports on Hulu, and that'll be just like it's gonna be. You might as well get it. Go ahead and get it now. This is ahead and get it now.
Because you played for me.
Right. That's right.
Can you
Told
see?
y'all 8 receptions.
Did you see followers saying Campbell Soup is something good or something stupid like that?
Yes. Man, Fowler, if he was 20 years younger, man, he'd be.
I'd be fit to be tied, man. After basket, good. Anyway,
I played great in my jockey underwear. You might.
So, fans, as we close, I want to introduce a new approval of a blanket waiver that the NCAA has approved. Now you can have unlimited unofficial visits. There's no cap on it now. So as we wrap up, it's just a new day, a new time.
I've never understood this.
I'm pissed.
I've never understood unlimited official visits, when you can go, when you. I can never understand why it was so restricted.
I'm pissed. That's
not restricted anymore.
You're taking so much away from the student athlete to be able to go to make a qualified decision. It cost me like 3 visits, dog. I hate this. I hate this. I could have signed somewhere else if I had a chance to go.
I could never understand
ridiculous.
The limitations on that. Like,
what?
Now you can check out all the schools that you were thinking about going to.
Because it was free. Because it was their way of trying to be the Gestapo in here. But, it's over for them. It's over. And they see it coming. They see the writing on the wall.
So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care and go on a visit.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.